Me.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our Real Estate Backstory. We do this every Monday morning around 9-ish kind of thing. So sometimes a little bit earlier, but this week we're getting back on our regular schedule at 9 a.m. So, we try and kind of show kind of what's going on in the real estate world here and how it impacts the Atlanta area. So,
And your business.
oh, and so my name's Alan Richardson.
My name is Ming Richardson, the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partner. And of course, Alan is the managing broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
All right. Well, we want to jump right in. We have so much information we want to share with you guys this week. So we just kind of want to get right into it here. And so we want to start off with, right now in the U.S., there was a recent Gallup poll that said that this is the worst time to buy a house ever. And so right now, you can kind of see what the trend has been all the way since 1980. And so you see that for the last basically 42 years, this is the lowest record from Gallup on folks who say that it's a good time to buy. And we have a little bit of a challenge with that because we don't see property values decreasing, and we do see mortgage rates increasing, which really makes this kind of a tough market for our buyers. We totally understand that, but it's not like it's going to get better.
It's really, well, what makes it really bad is that you're faced with what I call double whammy. One is the appreciation in price, and two is the appreciation in interest rate. So yeah, not pretty.
Well, it isn't, but it's where we're at right now. And so, folks need to understand what's interesting is at the same time, we're not seeing where demand is really. And I'll show you some more information about that. So on that same Gallup poll, this is the percentage of folks who still expect home prices to rise. 70% of consumers out there are still expecting prices to rise. About 18% say they're going to stay the same. Only 12% feel that property values are going to decrease. And we agree. I see property values leveling, but I don't see property values decreasing. And so, I think we're going to be in that 3 to 4 or 5% price appreciation year over year. I mean, long term.
But I see it, but as far as decreasing, no, we're not seeing a decrease in price unless the seller think their home is worth more than what the market holds.
And one of the things that came out through the study was that Americans still feel like real estate is the best long-term investment option, and
followed by mutual funds and stocks.
But still, we know that wealth in the United States is tied up in homeownership. And so as far as like a good long-term investment, you really can't beat real estate. Americans know that as well. So, now, homeowner equity has grown. So there was a new report out from ATTOM, ATTOM kind of thing, and that roughly half of the homes in the United States are what you would call equity rich, right? And so by equity rich means that over half of their value, they're over 50% of their value versus their loan amount. So if they owe, if the home is worth $400,000, they owe less than $200,000. That's half of the homes in the United States. And so when you say, gosh, are we heading into a bubble? This is not the same market that we saw in 2008. And we'll show more information on that later. But this idea that property values, the REOs are going to start shooting up through the roof, and we're going to start seeing, the housing collapse and that kind of stuff. Folks, we haven't leveraged our homes nearly as much. Average homeowner equity is huge. And so that's a really good solid footing for housing to be sitting on, kind of going into some troubled waters economy wise right now. Right now
but if you think about even troubled water, people still got to have a roof over their head.
Absolutely.
So your basic necessity need is still a requirement.
So interest rates are one of the biggest talking points in real estate. So they came up to a 5.3 this week. It was a 5.27 last week. So a little bit of a tick up, but not really seeing much in there. However, even though we saw interest rates, they moved up 0.03%, buyer demand remained undeterred. Okay. The number of buyers, the number of mortgage applications, it has not decreased. And so that's one thing that I think sometimes some of us in the real estate world have to kind of get our head around, is that the market is not, especially for spring and summer, like you really couldn't put enough water on our spring and summer buying season kind of thing. And we sell more homes during these next 4 to 5 months than we do the rest of, like at all. And so, just understand that. Don't talk yourself into the idea that yeah, interest rates are rising, so nobody's buying. It's not true. We're not seeing that.
And this is actually around the interest rate pre-pandemic. So this is not something that we weren't used to. It's just that we really got spoiled during pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that did come out of the Fed's meeting last week, was that the Fed is going to move to a neutral Fed's funding rate much sooner than what we thought. Now, what that really means is like the neutral Fed's funding rate is 2.4%. I mean, right now they raised it a half a point, and it's kind of thrown all kinds of information. Like the markets are kind of going all over.
Mhm.
Expect that by fall, we're expecting to be the federal funds rate to be somewhere around 2.5%. So we expect that they're going to keep doing half point increases as the year kind of goes on. That was kind of based on the interviews from the different Fed's managers and that kind of stuff. That's really what we're looking at.
Right.
So at the same time, we're seeing ARMs, and this one we find a little bit troubling. So ARMs, the adjustable rate mortgages, hit the 14-year high right now, and they're basically accounting for around 11%. And normally they account between 3 and 6% of our market would be ARMs. And for certain individuals, an adjustable rate mortgage makes sense. Like a lot of times we see doctors and lawyers when they first get in their practice, they'll go out there because they know that they're going to make a lot more money down the line kind of thing. And so
for the first few years, it's not really an issue because honestly, they're just trying to find a location to live in and get their business started.
But the challenge for us is that for the average buyer, right now an ARM is at 4.47, like we said, versus the 5.3. And so, yeah, there is a little bit of savings there, but as that federal funds rate comes up, those ARMs are going to get hit really, really hard because adjustable rate mortgages are not based on the same thing that traditional mortgages are. They're sitting, different ones are set on a different benchmark.
Yeah, and so this one is called adjustable for that reason. It's not a fix where your regular loan are fixed and it does not increase or decrease.
And so, yeah, they might get in lower on the front end, but they're going to pay more in the end. And ARMs are one of the big issues that we had in the 2008 crash, was because so many, when interest rates moved up, they couldn't afford the payments anymore. And so we got to be realistic about that. And please be advising your buyers on that. Now, one thing that did come out, National Association of Realtors did a couple of studies and found out like why how are our buyers dealing with rising interest rates. And so one of the things that they're doing is we're seeing a pretty drastic increase in the amount of down payment money. And so, whether it's from the sale of your previous home, and we're carrying that equity forward. And so the average down payment has basically doubled where it was even just a year ago, how much down payment money and that we're putting into houses to try and get that loan amount down. The other thing we're finding is that folks are really going into areas that they wouldn't really consider before. So we're seeing folks that are really expanding their area.
Compromising basically for what they want versus what they truly need.
Well, and so, but they're going outside those normal areas. They're looking at properties that maybe like are they considering modular homes or trailers or rural or condos or townhomes, things that they weren't really looking at in order to kind of get into the market and to be able to participate.
To stay in that fixed rate. I mean, right now rental is roaring.
Yeah. So for our buyers, first time buyers right now are still driving demand. And that's the thing that's interesting for so many people to understand, even for us, because you'd figure with rising interest rates, all that kind of stuff, that first time buyers are down, but they are driving our demand right now. And so the chief economist for Freddie Mac, he came out and said, and did a full analysis on here on what first-time home buyers is going, what's going on with first-time home buyers. And so right now, the loans that Freddie Mac has been doing for first-time home buyers is up 22% from 2020. So we're looking at a five-fold increase in the number of first-time buyers, and we've seen this. Our largest population group in the United States is our millennial buyers.
Absolutely.
And they're all reaching first-time buyer age over the next 4 to 5 years. So that's going to continue to happen. In addition to that, So many of our millennials out there are in the job market, and they're making good money. They're buying later on than folks have in the past. In addition, a lot of them are high income earners that are paying really outrageous rents. And so if you kind of been on the rental market, yes, mortgages are increasing, but rentals are worse. Basically, where we're at.
Absolutely. And because these millennial are high paying jobs, so they don't think about until it really impacts them when other items that have started increasing.
Yeah. There was speaking of buyers, there was a huge study actually of folks who are currently buying in the market right now. What are the 10 must-have features that you have to have? And they said, like they gave them the choices of these 10 and what were the top ones. And so the actually tied for first. I mean, if you put the two together, it's kitchen, right? So eat-in kitchen and an upgraded kitchen. So an upgraded eat-in kitchen, that is the big deal. So dated kitchens that don't have good floor plans or layouts that aren't eat-in, that's going to be a big turnoff because these are must-haves. Don't have it, we're not going any further. Number 3, which is so interesting,
dog friendly.
Yeah, like fenced in yards and having places for Fido to be able to run around.
I think during pandemic, I mean, we heard when it first hit, a lot of your shelter ran out of pets.
Yeah.
And it's because, once we're unable to go outside, we look inward, and pets were our companions for a lot of these folks.
Yeah. Number 4 on our list is large walk-in closets. It's more important that we have a walk-in closet than we have a great school. Sorry, I think that's kind of funny right there a little bit. Next one is near greenery. This means that we want to be able to near parks and things to do, places to take our dogs, that kind of stuff. Bonus rooms are really important. Square footage is always going to be a big deal out there. Quiet neighborhood. Most of the time, it's not just quiet neighborhood, but it's overall quality of the neighborhood. Are the homes well maintained? Are the neighbors nice? That kind of thing.
Right.
After that, beautiful views. Folks want to live in a nice area. And then the smallest one is walkable area. And so, that's going to matter much more for our in-time ITP folks than for a lot of our burbs. So
OTP.
Outside of the perimeter. That's us, represent. So now what's going on with our market right now? So, Redfin, releases market data. And so we're trying to show you exactly kind of what's going on. And so our median sale price right now nationally is about 17% up. Here in Georgia, we're actually running about 4, we're running right at 8% now. And so, I'm kind of showing you national numbers, but do know that, Georgia is still trending up, but right now we're only trending up. We're down in the single digits now, which is good. Nationwide, we're still in double digits, but here in Georgia, we're running around an 8.5% median sale price year over year right now. Pending sales, however, look what's happening in pending sales. Pending sales are trending under last year. And so we are seeing the same thing here in Georgia. New listings of homes, this is part of our problem with value stabilization is that, we don't have as many homes on the market. And for a lot of our sellers, they don't want to sell because they're going to be right back into the same market.
Right. They need to buy first before they sell.
So, as a matter of fact, you can kind of see this is where our active listings of homes for sale are. We're about, here in Georgia, we're down about 20% versus last year when we were down around 28%. So we're down about half of where we were just 2 years ago, just on the total inventory of homes available out there. Now, still with all that going on, 56% of our sales are under contract within 2 weeks. So for listing agents, that's your benchmark. Like if you're not under contract in 2 weeks, what is it? Price.
Your price too high, or the condition of the property.
Well, price versus condition is always going to be there.
It's not where it needs to be.
Yeah. Now, one thing we are seeing is that the number of listings that has price drops has skyrocketed. And so we're seeing where the folks who are listing their property right at the market are really getting a lot of interest. And for those folks who are throwing these prices out that are really high, that are exorbitant, that are more than what the property will really bear, they're having to step back. And that's a big challenge for a lot of our sellers because you've got 2 weeks to get a full price offer on a home.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to happen in those first 2 weeks, then at that point, not only do you have to start reducing price, but now you have to start giving in on concessions.
Correct.
And so when we can come out and price a property right at market value, that's when it's getting all the interest. That's when it's really going well. And so for our sellers who think, well, I'm just going to throw this out here, we should go high, we should go high, they're shooting themselves in the foot, especially with what we're seeing on the pricing models right now, is that's not what's appealing to the buyers. The buyers will let the market drive that price up.
Absolutely.
But if you come in and you limit the number of buyers by going too high, you're hurting yourselves. So, some of our sellers have hit a tipping point, and so, if you look at what's happened, this is what's happened with monthly mortgage payments. And so we are starting to see a shift in the market right now. And so during spring and summer, it's not going to affect us as much, but this is another one where you're going to see and this is what's driving that issue of if the home is priced properly, it's going to get a lot of activity. But if you're going out there with the way mortgage payments have been,
yep,
that's going to hurt us.
So if you look at the average from March of last year to March this year, you're looking at about $370 difference in monthly mortgage payments. So that can put some folks out of the ballpark.
Now, I shared with you all the national data, but I'm going to share some local data in here, kind of thing. And all this here is the number of the number of listings this year versus last year. And some of these are not really that surprising. So in Fulton County, average number of listings is down 18%, DeKalb 17%. However, look at Fayetteville, up 11%. We have 11% more listings. Clayton County's
your
down.
West side is increasing. Well, Fayette and Coweta is in the west.
Right.
So.
Well, that's true. But even, so Spalding County is up 18%. Coweta County's up 18%. Fayette County's up 11%. Over on Newton County, they're only down 4%. Henry County's only down 8%. Rockdale's only down 4%. So just because we say inventory is tighter everywhere, look, no matter what, real estate is local. Real estate,
right.
It's very, very regional. And so you can see kind of what's going on. So, I personally expect to see more property,
it's okay.
Just those days when your mouth and your brain don't work together.
You know what you want to say, but it's not coming out.
It just doesn't spit out. Yeah. So I expect to see more
there may
list price reductions in Fayette, Coweta, Spalding than I would to expect to see in Fulton County, for example. Just at a sheer number, there's more inventory there. When there's a greater amount of inventory, then we're going to see more softening of prices.
Correct.
So
agent, please let your client know, price it right, because otherwise it's going to become a very frustrating process. And just warn your clients, if we don't move this property in 2 weeks, we need to go ahead and reduce price.
Yep. All right. FHA has decided they want to change the rules on HUD homes a little bit more, and so now FHA and HUD Home Store, they're going to make all their properties available for 30 days. So it used to be 2 weeks, then it was 21 days. Now it's full 30 days. It's going to go only towards owner occupant. And you have to prove owner occupancy on here. In the past, we had some investors that would sometimes do unscrupulous things.
They would do an affidavit, and that's it. So, I'm not sure what step FHA or HUD Homes are utilizing for affidavit, but you got to prove that you are owner occupant buyer, that you haven't purchased property in the last 2 years.
Now, speaking of foreclosures, so I went ahead and this morning pulled up and said, well, let's see how's foreclosures looking. So there is all the foreclosures for the entire state of Georgia. Yes, there's 7 of them, and they are not what you call in the Atlanta area for sure.
There's one in Douglas. Well, that's Coffee County, actually. Sorry.
Yeah. So like Miller County, Chattooga County, like these folks, these properties are a little bit out there kind of thing. So there are some, we got 7 whole properties for the state of Georgia on HUD. So we're not seeing a drastic increase in that.
These are the outskirts.
Now, part of that, what's driving that? And so there was, they went through and analyzed, of the 200,000 homeowners that are facing possible foreclosure, just 0.3% have outstanding mortgages. However, 90% of those, let me back up here. The vast majority of those have positive equity. So the vast majority of folks that are facing foreclosure can sell and make money.
Yeah, this is where you can actually doing educational classes and help out the stressed sellers. At the same time, they can pull the equity out and you can make, your commission out of it as well. So,
So, of the folks that are going in that could go into foreclosure, 90% of them have
has
equity.
equity.
And so, when we say, it's funny because we get calls at the brokerage like, hey, can I get a list of REO properties? You have a list of bank-owned properties? Can I get properties off the market? It's not there, right? 90% of the folks who are behind on their mortgages have equity. And so we're not even talking short sales here. They can sell and make money. They maybe don't want to sell, and I understand that because they don't know where they're going to go and that kind of stuff. That does drive another issue. However, that's not our issue right here. And we're not looking at this foreclosure boom coming in.
Unless the seller just feel like, and a lot of sellers just are not well informed.
And sometimes they'll just shove their head in the
decision.
sand.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what caused some of the foreclosure too.
So how about overvalued? So, there's a new study which ranks all the different cities around the United States.
City, Idaho.
It's 73% overvalued out there. Now, where does Atlanta come in? You might want to know. We're actually pretty low nationally.
77.
So we are the 77th, most overvalued metro in the United States. Overall, we actually rank pretty low nationally, and so expect that we're going to continue to see buyers coming in from outside of our area. A lot of buyers, you come into New York, New York is our number one inflow, and so I don't expect that to change any. Yes, for us here in the market, we're like, this is crazy, but you compare us nationally, we're pretty good still, kind of thing. Please check in on your new construction buyers. We had a lot of new construction buyers that, because of how long it's taken to build homes, we've seen escalation clauses and they've been coming out the yin yang. And so now a lot of those escalation clauses have been coming along. But the other thing that's happened is, even though we may have been under contract, those mortgages weren't locked.
No.
And so now we're looking at, and so now we've got some buyers who were buying on payments 6 months, 9 months ago, and guess what? That payment is drastically different than what they put in there. So please, we had a deal just die last week where what the buyers had kind of budgeted for, planned for, the whole 9 yards. They get ready and then
they were approved for, of course, at 3% interest rate. Now, guess what? Because it wasn't locked in, now we're at 5%, and it's pushed them over the debt to income ratio.
Well, not just they can't physically afford that monthly payment out there. And so this idea of getting folks under contract and then just kind of, we'll check back in later. Like they need to know what's going on. We need to be speaking with the lenders. As soon as we can get our new construction buyers locked, we need to get them locked. We need to, do our best to keep the communication going with the builders at the same time. So this is a big deal. If you've got buyers under new construction, you really see where, kind of how long until that property is really going to be done. What's going to go on with interest rates by then? Are they going to be able to afford those interest rates? We need to be talking to those lenders right now about that, because you're much better off if they can't afford that home where it's going, then we need to get them moved now. We don't need to start moving to a different product, to a different home later. They need to start searching now.
Correct.
So at the same time, lumber prices are thankfully lower. All right. So now lumber fell below $800 per thousand. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still double where it was pre-pandemic. It used to be around $400 per thousand board foot. So yes, it's still elevated, but it's nowhere near where it was, like the $1,400, the $1,200 per thousand board foot that it was. So we are seeing lumber coming down, which is a really good sign. We need that. It only takes 2 or 3 months before we actually start seeing that in like Home Depot and Lowe's, as well as for the builders are actually seeing it on the properties.
All right.
For our renters, guess what? We've been having buyer wars or bidding wars on sales. Guess what we got going on now?
Rental bidding wars.
Rental bidding wars. And I just think that's crazy, but we are seeing that going on. We're seeing where single family rents have been outpacing single family sales on property, on value, not value, on cost appreciation, right? And so now what we're seeing a lot of landlords are doing is they're taking offers on how much you're willing to pay per month. And so they're pitting one renter versus another. It's just making this market that much crazier. Again, I kind of highlight this,
It's very frustrating for renters, and I understand that.
we do. But this idea that I'll just rent to
Unless
weather the storm.
Well, unless you go in apartments,
but even apartment rents are through the roof. So there isn't a safe haven to just wait out for the and obviously when you look at the numbers, there's no reason why the market's actually going to drop. So just FYI. Average closing cost in Georgia is 1.3%. So it was a new study. They went through and they calculated what the average closing cost by state was. And so Georgia came in at 1.3%. Without taxes came in at about $2,800. With taxes came in about $3,700. And I just give that to you as a benchmark number. Some states it's astronomical, like there's several states that are 4 and 5%. So Georgia at 1.3%. Now I'm saying it's great, but it's way better than a lot of other places. Yeah. But I just wanted you to have some sort of a benchmark rate when like, well, what are closing costs going to run? A lot of times when we sit down with a seller and that's a pretty common question now.
Closing costs does not include your prepays, meaning hazardous insurance on your property tax. So please keep that in mind. It doesn't also include your appraisal or inspection.
All right. 1031s are on the chopping block again. And so President Biden, he proposed limiting 1031 exchanges. However, and my thoughts on this one is that this is not going to turn out the way that they really think. First of all, if you hold a 1031, it's not like you have a time limit on it. And so the very first thing is that I think this actually makes housing worse, because if you have a 1031, you're just not going to sell it. Right. And you're going to wait for the economy to change, for the administration to change, for someone to put back in that, so right now, I think our savvy investors are really going to hold on to it. The other thing is that by doing that really hurts our economy overall. Like, so taxes paid and related business using like exchanges amounted to $7.8 billion for the IRS last year. So why would the government want to limit that? And I understand it's all about being, sometimes we worry about being fair, but by the same token, we're not being really wise about this.
Well, if you think about it, if you tax $7.8 billion, that's a huge amount, chunk of change. Not only that, the investor are not able to take this money, reinvest into the economy and making it run. So, it's not really a great item for the IRS or the government to implement.
Yeah, we think this is actually not wise. I understand that, a lot of times and we try really hard not to get political on here, but I understand the whole issue of everything should be fair. And I got that, but these folks jumped into these 1031s with the premise that they could defer their taxes until later on. And if they can't do it now,
later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a 1031 is.
Right.
And so, will this pass? I don't know that this will pass necessarily, but it's definitely out there on the block right now. We kind of want to share with you. So there was a new study. So we had an author who's all he does is, well, not all, but he did this big study on millionaires. He studied all these millionaires and said, what does a millionaire do that is different from everyone else? And what they came down to was 240 minutes of their day is different than a lot of other people. And I wanted to throw this out there to you because, what are you doing with that? So over 80% of millionaires spend an hour a day dream setting. Okay. And so they look at their dreams, they look at their goals, and what is the motivator for this? Correct. And so, sometimes this is side hustles, additional income streams, but they're focusing about an hour a day on that. Are you? 80% also spend 60 minutes more or an hour a day on practice or education. They hone their skills, they improve.
Market research, anything that can improve what their current practice are.
If we can be a subject matter expert, that is valuable. I don't care what industry you're in. If you are the subject matter expert, that's not replaceable, right? And so that's a really big deal. almost like over 90 something percent engaged in 30 minutes a day of aerobic exercise. So now we're at 2.5 hours, right? And so, then, the other one is that they also, a lot of the rich spend time maintaining relationships. And oh my goodness, this is one that just like smacked me in the face, because real estate is a relationship business. It is all about relationships. So whether it's networking and working with business organizations, or just calling and checking in on folks, calling your
Wishing
important
happy birthdays, and and making, send condolences, getting married, all these matter, and in people.
well, and relationships are, I mean, 80%
This
of
is
our
what
business,
relationships about.
yeah, that comes from people we know and people that know us. And so real estate and relationships in real estate is just crucial. So we just kind of thought that was really interesting. I want to share it with you. Normally, we would kind of be wrapping up right now, and I just wanted to kind of share something with you on the wrap up here. We had our sales meeting this past week, and I just wanted to briefly share, in case you didn't catch our sales meeting, kind of one of the main topics that I wanted to share out there, and that is we really feel that we are moving or in a recession. But it's not like any recession you've ever
It's
seen.
a different recession.
It really is. So, first of all, with a recession, you have a drop of real income. And so, while we aren't seeing a drop in wages, when you add inflation on top of it, then you are seeing a drop in real income.
Stipend that was given by the government last couple of years
Is not there now.
is no longer available.
Yep. Normally you have lower unemployment. We don't have lower unemployment right now. So that's definitely a big change
Matter of
right
fact,
now.
some of the touring area are concerned because they're not having enough help to meet the demand of the tourism.
Yep. Third item is there's a drop in manufacturing, and we have seen a drop in manufacturing. Matter of fact, we saw a drop in GDP for the first quarter of 2022. Number 4 is lower retail sales, and so far we've seen lower retail sales in the first quarter. And then again, we talked about monthly GDP.
Well, honestly, some of those are caused by a demand. And it's not enough to supply.
So this is Lawrence Yun, I'm like a fanboy of his kind of thing, and his statement here is that if a recession is coming, it's not going to be the kind we experienced in 2008, and I agree so much with that. It is going to be a very unusual recession because job openings are sky high. Normally, when job openings are down, that's a big driver for the economy. So this is going to be a very different type of recession. So if we're in one right now or not, that's kind of questionable. Ming and I kind of feel like we're in a recession right now from the technical sense on there. If you look at what's going on with inflation, like
gasoline,
everything is up right now.
Airfare.
But look what's happened with housing though right now. Because if you took a $400,000 house last year, well, that principal and interest at 3% would have been $1,686. Well, if you take the property appreciation plus you take the additional interest rate, that's almost $1,000 more on a monthly payment for that same house.
So if you look at it, last year this house is 400,000. This year is probably going to go around about 480. With the 3% versus 5.1%,
it makes a big difference, right?
In monthly payment.
And then our single family housing starts. Now you can, some folks are like, why are we in a housing shortage? Well, look what's happened since 2005. Only in 2005 was the last time that we met demand. And so, yes, our number of homes that we're building is increasing. We haven't even reached what demand is yet. And we haven't done it for going on 16 years now. So this is why we have a shortage of housing.
And also during downturn market, just remember, we're talking about a generation of willing, able buyers. So there was a gap during that time, as well as willing, able buyers.
Yep.
So therefore, but we're hitting the point now we have willing, able, not only the millennial, we had Gen Z that coming right after them. What's Gen X? No, Z. I got it. Yeah. All right. That's come right after them. That is buying simultaneously at a younger age at the same time.
And so you can see what's going on with our inventory levels. And so this is our inventory. Just look at the last 5 years, what's happened with just the number of homes and how that is so different from, we're building less. We haven't met that. At the same time, pending contracts are falling. So we are seeing where there's less pending contracts right now than we have in past years.
Yep.
At the same time, new construction, single family construction, sales, contracts also falling. At the same time, what's happening with prices? Parabolic
Going up.
upswing, which is a fancy word for saying it looks like they're going up and they're not going to stop, right? We don't see any trends where they're like bouncing, right? So we do expect them to start leveling off here. So, the National Association of Realtors released what they're looking on unit sales forecast. So you can see that the number of sales predicted for the next year or so is less number of
Way
sales.
less.
So when our consumers talk about what's happening with the real estate market, they want to know, are property values going down? No, property values are not going down. What is going to probably go down is the number of transactions. And so you can see that, like, for 2022, our forecast is the number of sales down is about 9% down. However, average home price increase is about 8%. Now that may work out to a 1% dollar volume, but moving forward, we're looking at having less sales than we have in the past, especially the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is what Fannie Mae's estimation on home price appreciation. Again, we think that that's pretty accurate. We really looking at those kind of numbers being very realistic where it is. At that same time, you can look at the total sales, though, are predicted to drop in 2022 and 2023.
And it's because inventory.
Right.
So once again, it's all come down to inventory.
And so we say that.
So what?
So what? Right. And so that's the big kicker here, is that whether it's a recession or the news is never going to be good with the real estate. It just doesn't good news in the real estate. Those aren't really there.
How about a Bitcoin?
That's not going to do it anyway. See, here's the bottom line. The only thing that has the ability to affect your business is you.
Absolutely.
What you allow it to do. And you have to look at your business. What are you going to do to make up for a 10% drop in the number of sales? Right? Because, dollar wise, it's actually going to work out a really close wash. But when that number of sales goes down, are you ready to capture the market? Or are you going to get eaten by the market? Is really what's going on. Every time we see a shift.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a different sort of shift. We're not seeing where real estate value is going down. We're seeing where the number of transactions goes down. And so we want to make sure that we're positioning ourselves and being realistic about what's going on. So we just wanted to share that from our sales meeting last week out there. This week we have 3 CE classes coming up. So on tomorrow, we're gonna have preparing your clients for a home inspection. That's going to be in our Conyers office. On Wednesday, Georgia MLS is teaching Intro to Connect MLS, and that's going to be in person at Noonan, which is
a great class.
It really is. It's one of their Connect MLS is that new system that everyone's trying to learn about right now. So really good information. And then Thursday, who's teaching Thursday?
I'm teaching GARS versus RE forms. So for those of you who are realtor or real estate agent,
doesn't matter.
You need to
see
know
both.
the differences. Yep. Okay. And of course, in our own offices, we have the KB Core training. Agents, if you have not taken advantage of this, please, I urge you to do that, simply because this is going to propel your business. Perhaps make more than 10 to 15% difference in today's market. So please take advantage of it.
Thanks, guys. We hope you have a great week. Week being service, please call, text, smoke signal. We'll holler at you.
Thank you and have a great Monday.
Bye-bye.